So now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we've seen that we've been able to add in locations for our library modules, but we still have to update the library cache. Programs make a reference to the library cache to be able to locate the functions and methods they want to be able to use. So we're going to see now how we can make our library module usable by updating the library cache. So still working as root on my CentOS 7 machine, we know that we've added in then a library module. We've added in, we can go through and take a look at it, so ls-l, and we can go through and look in our Unix system resources and local lib, and then within the plural site directory, we can see there that we've got our libdisplay_uid.so. So that's our module, and our module then can contain functions, methods, or whatever, depending on the programming language that we're using. If I take a look at then a piece of code I've got here, we'll look at the raw C code just to see how this is going to be referenced. So if I go through and look at my show uid.c, so this is just the source code. You can see there's nothing really in it, but we're making reference then to a function called display_uid, and that's really all that we're doing within the main function. If I try and execute the compiled code, so from my home directory I can go through and run show uid, we can see then that we're not able to find then the module that we need. So error while loading shared library libdisplayu cannot open shared object file, no such file or directory. If we go through and look at our library cache, we can get an idea of what's happening. We can see this with ld config, and if we just use -p, we can print out the content of it. If we go through and then, let's say, just go through and search for display, so if we put display here and obviously just put grep in front of this, well, we can see that we're not finding anything at the moment. If we go and look at the cache files, let's do an ls-l, and we'll go through and look at /etc/ld.so.cache. We can then go through and see, when we look at this, we can see that it was updated yesterday at 2/21 the 15th. If we then go through and update our cache now, and we update the cache with ld config, if I just go through and run this and now go through and look at that cache file again now, we can see then that it's now dated 5 on January the 16th. So we've now updated that. If we try now running my file, so now we can see that we've been able to locate the correct module, and we're able to see that we're displaying the real user ID and the effective user ID. Now for me, they're both the same, but if we went through and changed the permissions on this file, we could have it running as somebody else. For example, just to show you, it normally wouldn't work this way because we're going to normally want root privileges, but if I go through and change the owner of this file, so own tux, and we'll go through then and specify the file, so show user ID. Now when we go through and set permissions, if I go chmod u plus s, so u for user plus s on the show uid, all this means now is that when anybody executes this file, it's going to execute with the permissions of the owner. So if I go through now and re-execute the show uid, we can see, well, when I entered the program, I was root, but when I run the program, I'm running it as the user 1000. So just a simple demonstration for permissions. That's all that's in our library module. But you've seen that updating the library cache gives us access then to the correct module. If we go back now and print out our cache, so if I use Control and R and -p and enter. So Control and R reverse searches my history. So I was searching for -p. I can enter to run it. That we've now been able to find then the module, and we've got a link that exists within that library cache. If we update the cache, remember we update the cache with ld-config. If I go through and put -v, the verbose output will update the cache and also give me a printout of the modules that we find. So again, I've gone through now and updated my ld.so.cache file within the etc directory, but I also printed out then the modules that we find. So ld-config can be used by a standard user, but only with the -p switch to print out the library cache. To be able to update the cache file, we need to be the root user, and we can do that with ld-config. Don't get too concerned with any of the C code that we have shown you, but you're able to access these modules. If you have your enhanced subscription, you'll be able to download it with the demos file. For now though, we're going to summarize this section within the slides.